setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm glad that you're here with me. Cloudy day this morning in Palm Beach, South Florida. But it's good to be alive. It's good to be healthy. And most importantly, it's so good to sit down with you and talk out a few things. Listen, what we're going to talk about today is something that we don't really want to think about, but we have to do because some of you are going through this right now. And that is talking about shutting down your business. You don't want to do it, but with this virus has literally destroyed so many businesses that people have literally had to shut down. So we're going to talk about that. I'll be right back. Listen, if you are going through a business dispute or you're having a family conflict, text me at 818-252-5682. I am a certified mediator. I can help you through it. This is Mike Lodge.
World of Business and Taxes on WBT.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that we never really want to have to think about. It's just one aspect of life. Excuse me. Just one aspect of life of having to close down your business. Nothing that you want to do. Something that you never want to even think about, but you have to do it sometimes because we get things like this that pop up that literally shut down companies and businesses. Hate to even think about, gosh, I listen, my company's doing poorly at the moment. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm not going to brag and lie and feel sorry for myself, but my company is hurting at the moment because it's been a long time since those phones have rang for mediation because the courts are shut down. Attorneys are sitting in their offices. Well, not in their offices, but at home. Even judges are conducting criminal cases from their homes. I don't do criminal, but I do business and family. But it's one of these aspects of things are shut down. So when businesses are shut down, there's no conflict. I have gotten a few family mediation out of it because people are at home, they're upset, things come up, and they need to resolve it. And they call me as a mediator. But then we have to start looking at, okay, how long do we keep the company going? How do we limp along? Or do we just shut it down and start again when things become better? Or are we at the point where you just have no way to continue on with the business? I hate to even talk about this. But I think it's good to know that we need to go through some process on how we shut down. Yes, it's easy to go to your office and put a sign up on your window that says closed for good. But that's just the beginning because now you have a whole slew of issues that you need to do. Especially if you are operating as a LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp, some type of entity like that, because now you may have other people involved. You may have some other partners involved, some shareholders involved. So you all have to sit down And listen, I do this kind of mediation too when a company is shutting down and who is going to survive it, who may not survive it, or is it just a pure shutdown. But I do those types of mediations, and it makes it a lot easier when a mediator is present because you can keep things calm. You can keep things focused and people thinking in a much calmer way to approach a shutdown or a changeover or who's going to survive it. So you need to sit down and you need to decide if you're going to close or that, okay, we are going to close. So that kind of means that sole proprietorships, they're by themselves, so they can pretty much do what they need to do. But then there are people who are running LLCs and S-Corps that need to sit down and decide as a group how they're going to shut down. What is their plan of action? Sole proprietor is easy because they can decide on their own. But any other type of partnership requires that the co-owners agree also on what they're going to do. So you got to pull out those articles of organization, of articles of incorporation, go through the documents on the procedure of shutdown because it's in there. You probably didn't look at that part, but it is in there on the procedures to shut down. And then you have to form a written agreement between all of you guys of how you're going to shut down, what you're going to do, who's going to have responsibilities, who's going to keep the company, who's going to survive other partners. Because there may be some partners that don't want to be in it anymore, and then there's one partner who's going to be by himself. So you need to have that discussion, and it's a discussion that maybe if you are a larger group that you should have with a mediator so that you can keep things focused and calm. That's the best way, I'm telling you, when you have, because there's so much human emotion that's running, just running through everybody. And that emotion gets stirred up when you are discussing very personal financial issues of the company or the business that you all started together. So you need to file the dissolution documents, and failure to legally dissolve an LLC or a corporation with any state you're registered in will expose you to continued taxes and filing requirements, because as you know, almost every state requires you to file that statement of information. If you fail to do that, like in California, it goes from $25 to $250. File a dissolution very quickly. Then there's tax returns. If you don't file a dissolution on time, you could be having to file another tax return for the next year. So make sure that you follow those rules. Pull out your corporate documents. Go through the procedures of what needs to happen to shut down that LLC or corporation. Sole proprietorships are easy. You just shut it down. But you still have some responsibilities. So then you need to file that dissolution. Dissolve it. Dissolve it with the state that you're in. Otherwise, you may be... I hate this, but like in California, you have to file an $800 fee every single year. And if you don't file that dissolution, you might be liable for that $800 again. Then what you also need to take a look at is what are the licenses and permits that you have for this business. All right? So you need to cancel your registrations, your permits, your licenses, and business names. Protect your finances and reputation by canceling any of these that you are no longer going to need, including your trade name. Then the most important thing that I see happening all the time when companies dissolve is they forget to remain in compliance. Now, one of those compliance issues is the payroll compliance. So you need to comply with the employment and labor laws, reference like the workman's, the employment laws of whatever state that you're in. Because there are certain rules that you have to file on how you're terminating them, how you're giving the notice, how you need to resolve the payroll issues, how soon you need to give the payroll, how soon you need to pay the payroll to those individuals. There are all of those things that need to be thought about, especially in complying with paying the payroll taxes. Make sure you're on time with that, because those penalties and interest, they get very, very steep if they're not paid on time. Then if you have any financial obligations, if you have any outstanding debt, if you have any outstanding vendors, resolve your financial obligations. Handle final returns for your income tax and sales taxes. Get those done quickly. Cancel your employer identification number. Notify federal and state agencies on that you're shutting down. You're going to file your final tax return for that year. But you need to make sure that you're in compliance. If you're out of compliance, it becomes very expensive. Because when you don't file your tax returns, they can come after you for those penalties and interest. I don't think they're going to do it so much with this coronavirus, because everybody's in the same boat. Every business has been shut down. Then the other issue is that you need to maintain your records. Keep them in storage for at least 3 to 4 years, I would say. In fact, in some states and under some federal laws, especially on your tax returns, you may be legally required to maintain tax and employment records, among other files. Common guidelines advise keeping records for anywhere from 3 to 7 years. 3 to 7 years is the guideline. Now, what I have done with my company, I scan all of my records up into my main computer drive. So if I need to get to it at any given time, I can get to it. And I don't have to keep all that paperwork in piles and boxes and boxes. It's either on the drive that I can take with me, or it's on the main computer, on the main server, or on my laptop, or on my desk computer. But it's there for me to get to if I need to get to it. We have a tendency of wanting to throw things away and shred things up, but there are certain documents, especially on payroll and taxation, that you need to keep. You really need to keep those. And some employment files too, resumes and other things like that, and also their reviews, their employment files, the documentation, everything. Because ICE could still come in at any given time, or the state could come in at any given time and want to look at your records. So you have to keep your maintenance of your records for 3 to 7 years. I would suggest that you just scan them and put them up on your server or on your computer, and you've got them anywhere where you need them. I tell you, there are many times where I have had to pull records from 3 years ago to look at it. Excuse me. I've got this pollen that's in the air, and I had all my windows open all night because we had a nice cool breeze. And now I'm suffering from it because now, excuse me, now I'm suffering from it because of this pollen. I hate this time of the year when everything begins to bloom. Everything begins to exceed this pollen that goes all over the place. I tell you, when I lived in South Carolina, I had it the worst. These trees in South Carolina had this brown dust that begins to fall. And it's falling right now. And I'm sure it's around here also. But in South Carolina, it came down. It just literally covered all of your car. Pretty soon, if you had a white car, it turned into brown because of all this brown dust or pollen that's coming out of those trees. I have never sneezed so much in my life. What do they say? When you sneeze, your heart stops? Well, my heart stopped a lot in South Carolina because of so much pollen. It was just all over the place. Luckily, I'm a little bit better here because we've got the breeze that comes off the ocean, so it kind of pushes it to the wayside. But when it comes into the house, it's really not being pushed anywhere. It's stuck all around me. And then the dogs get it when they go outside. I'm always afraid. I saw a posting on Facebook today. They said, you have to realize that if somebody coughs in the grocery store, that this is pollen season, and some have asthma, and that affects them. So don't give them a dirty look, which is true. Listen, I'm coughing right now, and I try to hold my coughs in when I go into the store because I'm afraid that people are going to throw me out because I've got a corona. And I really don't have. It's just this stupid pollen. So remember that, guys, when you're out there. But let's start. Let's continue on with this. Okay, so the most important thing. I was going too far with my personal stuff. Sorry about that. But when you're closing down the business, there are a lot more items that you need to really think about than just moving all of your furniture out and everything else. You also have to talk to your landlord. Be very honest with them. Say, listen, I can no longer survive. Had to hit the mute button there. I can no longer survive because my business is failing. I have no customers coming in. I just can't survive anymore. Maybe if the economy gets up and running and we're back to normal and stuff, I can come back and maybe we can work out a deal. But at this moment, I am crushed. That was a good word for it, crushed, because I survive on my cash flow that I generate. And with the economy being shut down, I have had literally no customers. And listen, I want to tell you something else. If you owe taxes this year, I would strongly suggest that when you send your tax return in, maybe you should send it in by hand. Put a handwritten note on the front of it that says, listen, this is my story. I can't pay these taxes at the moment, but I would like to work out a payment plan. I don't have a job at the moment. I can't get unemployment at the moment. I don't qualify for any of the PPP loans that are there. So I have no cash at the moment. I am literally dry. Sign it, but ask them, please, can we work out a payment plan? But I can't begin my payments until such and such a date. Give yourself a little time, right? Remember, July 15th is the filing date for this year, but you need to be proactive in your tax return and letting them know in writing. Keep a copy of everything that you've sent them. And tell them, listen, I am dead. My business is dead. My life is dead. I have lost my job. I can't get unemployment. And go on. I had a client 3 days ago that came to me with that. And I said, I want you to be proactive on this. I understand your situation. The IRS has got to understand that also. So you need to explain your situation to the Internal Revenue Service. It's a tough situation, isn't it? Anytime that you have worked so hard at building a small business, and then you come to this point where, based on fear, the government shut the nation down and literally closed your doors. Based on fears. Because now we know that there is a 98.54% survival rate from this virus. There wasn't any need to shut down a whole nation. There's a whole healthy nation out there that wants to get back to work, but they can't because the government is using fear to control them. Look at Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom was angry. He was pissed off that people went to the beach. It's like 50,000 some odd people. That's not very much for a big... They have 40 million residents there, and 50,000 of them went to the beach. Not very big, but it pissed him off. So today he issued a proclamation that said all beaches, all parks, everything must be closed. Because he's pissed off. You went against him. Fear is used as a power grab, and that's what has happened with the majority of these states. Gavin Newsom is the worst because he has literally driven that state into the ground, with the middle class leaving there. So what you have left are the homeless, the poor, and the super, super rich. Everything in between there has almost left the state. So there's not going to be much traffic of taxation going into their coffers anymore because they have spent it all on stupid things and they've locked down their state, so no revenue is being generated. But we still have to be responsible. We are individuals who are good at doing business. You build up your business. And then a virus came along and destroyed your business. So you should not feel bad. It wasn't anything that you did. Where you should place your anger at in your disappointment is towards government, because they're the ones who panicked and used the media to build the panic into even a greater situation that shut down your business. Those are the individuals you should be angry and pissed off at. It's nothing that you did. It's nothing that you did wrong. It's something that the government did wrong. And I'm not going to go into all of the nonsense that has gone on ever since this coronavirus started. Everybody knows it. Everybody's talked about it. Everybody knows what the issues have been and continue to be. At some point in time, these states, and they're beginning to do it now, Texas is beginning to open up. South Carolina is starting to open up slightly. Florida, the northern part of Florida is beginning to open up. South Florida, not quite yet, because where I live here in Palm Beach County, we've been hit hard because we have a very high elderly population. So we've had quite a few deaths within our community. But it's because we have an elderly population who have other healthcare issues. All of us healthy people are still running around. We're still going to the store. We're still gassing up our cars. We're still going to the post office. We're doing pretty much everything normal, except that we can't operate our businesses. Can't. Now, I would like to see Governor DeSantis, open this up very quickly, because that will get other businesses up and running. That will get Miami up and running. That will get where all the business centers are located at, and where the majority of the revenue of the state gets derived from. We need to get South Florida up and running very, very quickly. We just have to. Companies like myself, I'm a one-man operation. I do this podcast, I write books, I do mediation work, some tax work on the side for businesses, business advisory work. But all of that has really dried up. Even the purchasing of my books have dried up. Because no one's buying, because they have to focus on buying food for the family or dog food for the dogs. So this isn't anything of your fault that you have to shut down your business, and you can rebuild again. You can. And I bet you that you will when the right time comes. But make sure that you're in compliance with the way that you shut down a business. Sole proprietorships, listen, you have the luckiest way of closing down. But you still need to make sure, if you have had employers or you were paying yourself employees, if you had employees and you were paying yourself a wage, make sure that you have all of those items complied with and shut down correctly. All of your business licenses and everything else. Why pay for those added expenses? If you had an automated phone system, I just went through the other day and I said, okay, what can I cut from my expenses so that I can survive? And so I did what I had to do. I cut out my Netflix, my Hulu, my YouTube, my Amazon, cut off my internet phone service. I cut off other services that I can't use at the moment, so why pay for them? But I went through all my expenses trying to cut it off as much as I possibly could. So for my business now, what I actually have is my cell phone, which is my business line, and my e-fax so that I can receive faxes. Everything else is shut down. My fancy phone systems, everything shut down. But I had to do it because I wanted to survive. Now, I could have just said, okay, I'm going to shut everything down, so I'm going to dissolve everything. But I didn't do it. I said, you know what, if I can just limp along until the day that this state opens up again. Now, here's the bad thing, not to moan and groan here, but July of this last year, I moved from California to Florida thinking this is going to be the best place, right? No state income taxes, lower cost of housing. Everything was going to be good. Everything was going to be right. So it took me from July until January to get everything settled, getting my incorporation in the state of Florida, doing everything that I needed to do logistically and legally. So my office is up and running, my computer systems are running. I'm now incorporated in the state of Florida, but then all of a sudden this virus came in. Everyone panicked and shut my business down, hoping that by moving to Florida that I would have been in a better shape, that my life was going to become better, preoccupied with being myself and less occupied with all of California's regulations and everything else that I had to deal with. And I thought, okay, I'm moving to Florida. Now this is going to be great. And I was so excited. And then the economy went dead. You kind of have to laugh at it. I mean, I'm laughing at it now, but it's one of those things where I didn't want to happen, but it did. Nothing that I planned for, but it happened. And as a good business guy and a guy who advises other businesses on what to do, I had to practice what I preach, and so I did what I had to do to survive. But some of us can't survive because our cash flow is literally done. It's literally zero. You can't even make the rent anymore on the storefront or the office space. It's an amazing time that we live in when we see that fear drove an economy into the ground. Where we used to have the lowest unemployment rates of all of the world, and then all of us, and we had the best economy of all of the world, the stock market and the real estate market, everything was booming. Small businesses were being formed and they were booming. And within 1 month, everything was dead because of fear. So this is what I want to leave you with today is I want you to, if you have to close your business, let's do it right. I've given you some guidelines on what to do if you need help, or if you have any questions especially. For those of you who are shutting down the business and you need help, I'm not charging you guys for it. Send me a text at 818-252-5682 if you have a question on what you should do and how you should approach it. Just send me a text with a question and I will respond to you. Send me your email in that text. I'll be more than happy to respond to you in an email, and if I need to add longer words to it. Or I'll to the text, I can also attach documents, so I can write documents there for you. But that's the deal, okay? That's the deal. If you are shutting down your business, if you are almost dead in the water, and you need some advice, just send me a text at 818-252-5682. Sometimes even if you need to talk, sometimes you just need to bounce some things off of a person, and you just need to talk because you don't know what to do. You're so confused, you're stressed out, you're scared. Listen, send me a text with an email, and I will send you a confirmation of where you can go, and we can talk face to face on the internet. I'm not charging you for it, because I don't think right now is the time to be charging people who are stressed out because they're failing their business, or they're having issues at home. Just send me a text, 818-252-5682. And I will send you a link of where we can meet, where we can talk. Let's listen. All of us are in this boat together, right? This nation has failed. It has failed. People are out of work. People are out of jobs. People don't know where to go to look for work because all the companies are closed. So what do? Food banks are being hit so hard that they don't have enough food to go into the food banks. Unemployment is very difficult to get to. I tell you, I applied for unemployment because independent contractors can apply for unemployment under the federal system. Can't get in there. Denied. I was denied. I tried to apply for the PPP. I was denied because I had no employees. So for companies like you, small businesses like you, who are literally living from month to month on trying to create more business and doing that, and you have no more cash flow coming in, I understand your pain. I understand it more than anybody else. I'm telling you. But I'm here to help. If you need someone to talk to, again, just send me a text at 818-252-5682, and we'll find a way to talk. Don't be discouraged because it's not your fault. Be mad as hell because the government shut you down. That's where you place your anger at. The state governors who shut you down, put you into lock and key, when you are healthy and able to work, that is the individuals that you should be upset about. Businesses thrive and some businesses die. Just like the flu, some people live, some people die. But we can get through this. Listen, if the coronavirus has a 98.54% survival rate, you still might be able to survive in your business if government acts fast. But if not, and you have to close down your business, let's do it right. Okay? Listen, everybody, I want to remind you one other thing. Because I mentioned my books, right? Go to Netflix, search for Michael Lodge. I'm the author, Michael Lodge, Lodge. Look for 3 books. Ethically Thinking, It's Not That Hard. Great book, talks about ethics and how ethics has affected me in my work and all through these years. The second one is Corona, Remember When. It's a humorous book on being locked down. So I've tried to take all the jokes that I've seen and everything about lockdown and put it into a book. It's not a very big book. It's 100 pages. Easy read. The third book is Daily Agenda. Three books. 3 easy reading books. That book is about 200 pages. Easy to read. Go to Amazon.com. You can buy it today. It's not that expensive. Amazon.com, Michael Lodge. I'm the author. I'm the writer. I am done. So listen, everybody go out and have a great day today. Don't forget that no matter how tough the times are and how much stress that you're going through, there is a God that listens. If you just look up and say, God, I need your help. Do you have some time to chat? Because I have some concerns. Can we talk about it? And then talk to him. Remember what he has said. He said, whatsoever you shall ask in my name, I shall give it to you. That's his promise. Hold him to that promise. He's a great God. So no matter what tough situation or tough decisions you have to make, just remember that there are people out there that will listen, but there's also a great God up above that is with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he will listen to your prayers. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge and fully focused on content.